In this course, we're going to be building a search feature using MaryUI and also Meilisearch with Laravel 11 and Livewire 3. So we can go ahead and just search for anything in here. If, for example, we have a user in here named Titus, we can go in and visit the page. It just says hello Titus, just a simple page retrieving the user information. We could also go ahead and search for an article, for example, which would be this one here, and you can just go in and weave that as well. So if we go in here, you can see that we get the users at the top with a profile picture using Laravel Jetstream and just enabling the profile pictures. And the search is quite fast here, and that's kind of the idea behind it, is to run it on Meilisearch using Laravel Scout instead of having to use something along the lines of a where query, where we then just see if it is matching this data. So we're going to be using some standard features coming with Laravel 11, and before you can do this on old Laravel versions as well if you fancy, so it will all work out for you then. Wait, so let's head into the code and get started writing this application. So let's head into our herd directory, and in here let's create a new project in here called search. And I want to use Jetstream for this project with Livewire, and I don't really care that much about dark mode, so I'm going to ignore that for now. We're going to be not writing any tests for this course. This is just a short one to show you how it works with MaryUI. Let's go ahead and then run this here. In here you will notice that not running the migrations by default. I'll be using PostgreSQL, but you can use MySQL, SQLite, or any other database driver you wish to use. So I'm just gonna ignore this running the migrations for now, and I'm just gonna let it run. So I've gone ahead and set up the configuration here now, and let's go into here and migrate it now. So that ran fine. As you can see, this was completely empty, and now we got all of this relevant information in here. So to start out with, let's create the article model. And we're just going to have the model called article with a migration and a factory created. So if we enter the create articles table, in here, I want to pass through a string with a title. I want to pass through a text for description. You may also want to add more things into this. This is just to show the basic example. So I'm going to go ahead and migrate this now. And I'm going to go into our article factory. And in here, I just want to essentially say title and description and fake some data for you. So I'm going to go in for the title. I'm going to say this faker text and a maximum of 30 characters. And then for the description, let's just go in and say this faker text. So if we now head into Tinker, we can actually fake all these records in here. So the way we can do that is we can head into Tinker and we can go in and get the model as a starter. And then we're going to go to the article model, the starter model here, factory, and count 200 in this case, create. I want to stress test this a bit, so that the reason why I'm creating like 200 records just to see how it functions with Laravel Scout and Meilisearch. So we're getting an error here, so let's just check why this is the case. It's because you're using too many slashes here. So let's go ahead and just get rid of them then. Okay, that's fine. And I'm just going to create a new terminal because that's quicker. So if you head into the database now, created this article with 200 records. So if we go in now, we can do the same thing for the user model. And that's it into the user table. And you can see we have the same amount of records now. So that's perfect. So I'm going to close this off now, and let's head in and start out with installing Meilisearch and Laravel Scout, and then head on to installing MaryUI. On Laravel.com, we can go ahead and search for Meilisearch. So what we can go ahead and do is we can go in here, and first and foremost we need to require the Scout installation here. So let's go ahead and do that. And after that's done, let's publish configuration in here. Then inside the article model and inside the user model afterwards, we need to make sure we use searchable. And while we're at it, let's head into our 45.php, or actually in this case it's going to be jetstream.php. And then here, let's just make sure we allow profile pictures so that we can easily enable those. So with that done, we can now head in here again and go ahead and require Meilisearch. So if we go ahead and find that here, you can see that we can just copy and paste this here, so you can install it. And after that, let's go ahead and make sure we have the environmental configuration set up as well inside the env file. So I'm going to put this at the bottom here, and we can just have master key here. That should be sufficient. On local development, on live and production, you will need to modify this a bit. So now what we should be able to go ahead and do is we should be able to just say PHP artisan scout import, and then in a different terminal we can run Meilisearch. And then I'm going to go ahead and say models user and then article, and there we go. So when you actually create these will already be added in, but for now we're just gonna make sure that they're all imported. And I'm already running Meilisearch by other projects, so I'm just gonna go ahead and close that so that it works properly. And there we go. So what we should be able to do now is head into our browser and head into MaryUI. Let's go ahead and install MaryUI in a different terminal again. While that's installing, let's go ahead and grab the install command here. We do not need to use live-via vault, and we're using npm, not yarn. So I'm just going to make sure we go ahead and use the correct package manager for our JavaScript. And we can go ahead and publish the configuration as well. And if you look inside Mary.php, you see we're using this Mary here. And by the way, this can be applied to pretty much any search bar you want. I'm just using MaryUI because it has a really neat spotlight feature, which makes it super easy to just align it up. All you need to do is just grab the details and then output on a page if you want to do this without using something like MaryUI. And with that sorted now, what we can do is we can go into our UI in here and select the spotlight component. So first and foremost, in here we need to make sure that we have livewire layout set up. By installing MaryUI, we already installed livewire, and the same with using Jetstream, so we don't need to require this for this particular set of circumstances. So if we head into our app.blade.php file, in here, let's just make sure we go ahead and actually in both of them. So let's just make sure we have this one here. I'm just going to go ahead and copy and make sure they're pretty much identical. And then let's make sure we have the spotlight set up. Let's run npm run dev. And then inside our web.php file, Let's remove the dashboard page. And let's go ahead now and add in the home page here. So in here, I'm just going to add in the route for the home page, and we're just going to get a home component that we're going to be creating. So for now, I'm just going to run make pages, and in this case, we're just going to call this home. And I think we may need to just dash this out. There we go. So now we should be able to go in here, add in the home component. Just like that. So in here, we don't actually need to do anything. All I really want to do is I want to go into the navigation menu. And in here, I want to go ahead and find and replace everything related to the dashboard. Just name this home instead. Just like that. And then we can go ahead in here as well, make sure that the settings drop down will be for authenticated people only. So actually, that would be this whole thing here. And let's end off here. And then for responsive links, let's make sure we also do it here. So let's head into search.test. And you can now see we have this home page here. So if we click Command G, you can see that there is search bar, spotlight bar here without anything working. So actually, I just want to make sure that we use home with a capital H in here as well. So let's just make sure we do that. So in order to get this working inside our app folder, we need to create a support folder. And in here, we just want to have spotlight.php. It's all written inside the MaryUI documentation. So you can see inside here, they're giving the example of how we, for example, could do it using Spotlight features here. So if we go in now, we should just be able to create this here, the Spotlight function here. And in here, we just want to have a search function. And in here, we want to have request. And then we also want to have a function for users. And we want to have a function in here as well for articles. Both of these functions in here should take in a search, which will be equal to null by default. Like this. We just want to return here collection. And in this case, we want to merge them twice, basically. So in here, I just want to merge this users with request search, and I want to merge this articles with request search. So what we can go ahead and do now is we can actually go ahead and return the different information we want to return. So for example, inside here, we can now go ahead and say return user search, and we want to, in this case, just take in 5 at a time, get, and map it. So in this case, I'm just going to make sure this is on a different line here, and in here we want to have a closure where we have user. And in here, we just want to pass through the avatar as the profile photo URL, the user name, the user email could be the description, and then we want to pass through the user ID here. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like now. And in here, let's just make sure for the articles one, just add this in as well. And we also want to pass through the search variable so we can actually search what's going on. For the article one, we just want to have this named article. We want to have article title, article description, and then just the article ID here, going into the articles page. Currently, there's still an issue with it, so let's just go ahead and see what may be going wrong here. So at the moment, we need to basically map these. We're getting the articles here, we're collecting it using a search function. And in the user one, we're getting the profile photo URL. So let's go ahead and see why this is not working fully. So it says index users not found. So I think what happened was because I had it open on my other server, I just need to go ahead and make sure we actually re-import these. Just like we did before. So let's go ahead and refresh now. And there we go. We're getting loads of results in here. And if we click here, it will give us page not found because we haven't set this up yet. So if what we can go ahead and do now is we can go ahead and make, using LiveWire make, pages and users index. And the same goes for articles index. So inside these pages here, we just head into our resources folder, views, and inside LiveWire, and we can go ahead in here and render some user information. So we just head into our index pages. The one for the user in here, we want to make sure that we require in the user, and the one for the articles, we want to make sure we require the articles. So we can do that by just go ahead and create a few more of these. In here, we want to say users and then index. And for this one, we want to say articles index. So articles, oh sorry, users, user ID. And for this one, we just want to call this users. So for the other one, we want to have articles slash article ID and call this articles. So inside of Spotlight component now, we should have this working. So let's go ahead and see what happens if we go back to search the test. And in here, let's say test and click here, and it's just an empty page. So if we go in now to one of the pages in here for the users, for example, we should just be able to say H1, and in here maybe say text to Excel, hello. And in this case, we can just say user name. Perfect. So inside our dashboard component, what we can go ahead and do is we can just copy this bit here to make it look a tiny bit nicer. and just make a padding of 5. There we go. And now let's go ahead and do the same thing in the articles one. And in here we just want to have instead article title. So if we head in here now and say this one here has a title, and we can then go ahead and just add in the description here. Article description. There we go. So that's actually all we need to do here. The only other thing I did do was inside application mark, I added in just a div component in here, or paragraph component, with this case font modal, text to Excel, and I call this Searchify. There we go. So that's how you can create Spotlight search component in Laravel, and this works really well. So thank you very much for watching this video, and please hit the like and subscribe button. If you have any further questions, please leave a comment below, and I'll see you in the next one.